G'day, it's Pete here and I'm back for another featured lesson, and today I wanted to cover why you don't think at bridge. And this is all about, people are taught rules in bridge about which card you should play when, and they just follow those. Now I wanted to go over the rules, they're more guidelines really, but cover why they work and why they don't work, and how you should actually be thinking about them. So let's jump straight in. The first one I wanted to cover is second hand plays low. So let's just imagine that the opponent's in 1-no trump. We're ignoring most of the bidding and just getting into the auction. Let's ignore the first lead. So let's say that they now lead a spade here, and it's up to us to work out, should we put our king on it or should we not? Now the guideline is second hand plays low. The reason for this is that if we hop up with the king, a couple of different things can happen. Firstly, our partner might be short in the suit as well, and they might have to put in the ace. So if I open up all the cards, you can actually see this is what's going to happen on this one. Is that if we hop up with the king, it'll go king, small ace. Okay, which will mean that we have managed to compress our 2 spades into 1 trick. So the general guideline is second hand plays low because your partner will get a chance to play after you, and for that they could possibly beat it as well. So if we hop up with the king, we're beating just little cards and our partner doesn't win any, and our partner doesn't have the opportunity to beat anything good because we've hopped up in front. Also, partner might have to play something really high themselves, in which case we're wasting honours. And sometimes when you hop up, you get your trick, but you then separate out the opponent's tricks. And what I mean by that is, I might get an ace, but then that allows them to score a queen and a king and get 2 tricks. Whereas if I played low, they would get their queen, and then my ace would capture their king separately. So there's various different times that that can happen. So for instance, let's look at if they led diamonds. Here I would know that if I don't play my ace, the king's going to score. But if I hop up with my ace, then they get to play low, and they'll get to score the king and also the queen of diamonds separately. So for that reason, they'd get 2 tricks. Whereas if we backtrack and then I don't hop up in with the ace of diamonds, okay, but instead play low, they get to score the king of diamonds, and then they can try leading back towards the queen, but I get to capture that and we get the extra trick. Okay. The other reason that you might play second hand low is, I'll just get them on lead again, is let's say they play a heart. Again, partner might have a chance to win something even cheaper than us. We could put the ace on it and that would guarantee to win the trick. But if we play low, our partner might be able to win something lower than the ace. So here our partner gets to win the queen of hearts instead of winning the ace. So these are all the reasons why we do second hand low, but there's definitely times when we don't want to do it. So if none of these reasons are coming true, then you could hop in. So you could hop up and take your tricks. So if we know partner can't win the trick, this is the first thing that you want to be aware of, and we're not giving declare extra tricks by hopping in, then playing second hand low could be a bad thing. We might want to get our trick. This is more common when we know we can set the contract. So if we know we can beat the contract, this is a good time when we don't want to do second hand low, because maybe declare is trying to sneak something through. Another time is if we don't take it, we're never getting our trick. So sometimes declare might be sneaky and trying to sneak 1 trick through. So again, this really reverts back to when if we play second hand low, we might not get our trick, and we have this obvious way that we're going to beat it. The other times are when entries are an issue. Maybe we're trying to set up partner's suit, and hopping in with our card while we can set up partner's suit while they retain an entry can also be a good thing. So if entries are another issue, then not playing second hand low can be a good thing to do. So quick recap, some of the reasons why we play second hand low is we might crash honours with partner, partner might win it cheaply, or we might give declarer more tricks like that. Whereas times when we don't want to play second hand low is declarers being sneaky and we won't ever get our trick if we don't do it. And if we want to prevent partner's entries being knocked out, so we want to win the trick first so we can actually set up partner's suit, or we have an obvious way to set the contract and that's your main focus. The next one I wanted to talk about is third hand plays high. Third hand plays high. So again, we're ignoring the bidding, but let's just get them in one no trump. So let's say we'll open up all the cards for this, and if our partner, again ignoring the bidding because West has an extremely strong hand. Let's say our partner leads the 3 of spades, and we know that West has the ace queen of spades. We still want to throw our king into that, because here what will happen is we'll go low spade, and if we play low, they get to score the 8, and then they'll get to score the ace, and then the queen subsequently. They're always going to score the ace queen after this, but if we put in the king, what's going to happen is if we get to lead spades next, we'll be able to set up our partner's jack. So the whole idea about third hand plays high is you want to be able to promote something for either you or your partner. If you can't do that, you don't need to play third hand high. So here, by putting our king in and throwing it under the ace queen, we're going to set that up. Whereas if we look at hearts, again, this is the same thing. So if our partner led a heart, even though we know declarer's got the ace jack or anything like that, we can sacrifice this. They get their ace, but now our partner's got their queen 10 sitting over the jack 9. So we'd get 2 more or 3 more heart tricks. Whereas if we played low, they'll get to score the 9 and they still get their ace. So the whole principle of third hand high is that you set up something for your partner or yourself by putting in a high card and promoting a lower card. Now, when I say third hand high, it doesn't always have to be the highest card that you actually have. For instance, if a partner led a diamond and declarer put in a low card, we can actually put in the 10. Now, notice what we're doing is we're finessing the dummy. So if I just hide the cards again, if we dummy had queen third, if we put in the king, it would lose to the ace, then the queen would be a winner there, and that'd be all fine. When we put in the 10, this will force out the ace in this instance, and we've still got the king sitting over the queen to get the rest of the diamond tricks. Whereas if we put in the king, they would get those cards separately. But what about if West had the jack of diamonds? So if we put in the 10 and West has the jack of diamonds, they get to score that jack of diamonds, but our side would still have set up the diamonds. We'd still get the king and the ace separately, and East-West would be entitled to a diamond trick no matter what. So here, third hand high doesn't always mean the highest card. It just means put in a high card to force something out. If you want to finesse dummy, you can do that. So that's completely fine. But let's look at some instances where third hand high doesn't actually work. So again, we're ignoring the bidding. And let's say our partner leads the 9 of spades. Now the 9 would say, I don't like spades. In which case we can place West with the ace, the queen, and the jack of spades. So if they put in the 10 of spades, then there's no reason to cover this because we know West has ace, queen, jack, and we are not promoting anything for our side. We're not promoting the queen, we're not promoting the jack. The 8 will promote itself even if we duck, and by playing low, we're going to force declarer to keep taking finesses, which is a lot more relevant. If your partner led the 3 of hearts, and if this was against a suit contract, for instance, and we also knew our partner liked leading 4th best, we could place declarer with the ace of hearts in that case. So here, if it went 3 of hearts, what we would know is if we know declarer can have a singleton ace, and under what conditions could we know this? It might be later in the hand that we know this, or we might know that partner loves leading 4th best, And against a suit contract, you don't underlead aces. So if that's the case, if Declarer was sneaky and put in the 9 of hearts, what we could do is we could see the 3 of hearts. We could tell that partner's got 4, East has 4, and we've got 4, in which case Declarer has just 1. And we also know our partner doesn't underlead singleton aces, underlead aces, so therefore Declarer has a singleton ace. So instead of putting the king on it, which means our side can no longer attack hearts, we can just duck this and we can force out the ace in our own right by doing that as well. Another reason that you might not want to play third hand high is if we know that we can set up a trick by length. If we know what's going on in diamonds and that we've got a 4-4 diamond fit, if partner leads the 8 of diamonds, again we would know that they don't like diamonds. If they lead the 10 or the 8, we'd know that the diamonds aren't good. So if Declarer plays low from dummy, if we put the king up, they're going to score the ace, the queen, and the jack all separately. But if we play low, they're going to score the ace, queen that they're always entitled to. But after that, our king actually scores a trick. So sometimes you don't want to play third hand high because Declarer or dummy will have to play an honor by force. And by not putting up a high card, we're going to promote our own cards. So again, a couple of reasons of why we don't always play third hand high is if they're going to have to put up a high card themselves anyway, and by not putting it up, we'll promote our own stuff. Or we know there's no chance that our partner has anything good that we can promote. So if we know there's nothing for our side to promote, we don't need to play third hand high, make them keep working for it. Alright, the next one I wanted to talk about is cover an honor with an honor. So this is very similar to third hand high, except it happens in second position. So again, let's say they're in no trumps. So we get a club lead. Well, ignore the club lead. That was just to put them on lead. Okay, so if they happen to have led the queen of spades, what we want to do is we want to cover an honor with an honor. And the whole reason for this is we want to try and promote something for our side. And we don't know who's got the jack 10 or anything like that, but we're hoping that we can promote something for our side. So here, I'll open up all the cards and we can see how this actually works. So here, if they led the queen, if we didn't cover it, they'd get 2 tricks. If we do, our partner gets the jack 10. Now, to be fair, this would not be a play that East would usually make, but occasionally people do make it, and if they were planning on running it, they were going to set that up anyway. The next one is if they were leading hearts and we knew their heart holding, imagining that West was actually Declarer, what you want to do is you want to cover the last of touching cards. So if they lead the queen, we want to duck that, and then we want to cover the jack. Now let's look what happens if we covered the first one. So if we covered the first one, we're trying to promote the lower cards, the 10, the jack, the 10, the 9. But here, what happens is they'll then be able to finesse our partner's 10 and score 3 heart tricks. Okay. Whereas if we know that they've got queen jack, because they are in the dummy, they're the cards that if these were the cards we could see. If they led the queen, we duck it. Now they can't actually successfully finesse our partner's suit and get 3 heart tricks. If they lead the jacket, now we cover it, and now we've promoted our partner's heart by not covering the first time, not setting them up to finesse. So in general, when you want to cover an honor with an honor, cover the last of touching cards if you can afford to do so. And then finally, I wanted to talk about diamonds. Even if people lead 10s, these are worth covering. So here, if they led the 10 of diamonds, let's go back just so that we can see those cards in dummy. If we play low, what's going to happen is they'll run it and they'll force out the queen, and now they can finesse the ace jack of diamonds themselves. Whereas if we covered it, what we're trying to do is promote the lower cards, the queen, the jack, the 9. So here it would go like that. And if again I open up the cards, Now what we can see is our partner's queen 9 of diamonds is now sitting over the jack, and we're entitled to 2 cards. So covering 10s is important as well. So when I say cover an honor with an honor, we are including 10s in this as well. The whole idea is you want to cover something that has a chance to promote something for either your side or your partner's side. And it doesn't matter how low we go, that principle still stands. You want to cover it if you have a chance for your side to try and promote something. So let's look at some times when cover an honor with an honor doesn't work. Okay, so again, let's just ignore the bidding and put them on lead, so ignore the lead. Okay, so let's say that they lead the queen of spades here. Here, there is no benefit whatsoever in covering the honor with an honor, because what will happen is we're promoting the jack 10 9. We can see all of those, and what will happen is nothing beneficial for our side. If we duck it, we're at least forcing them to repeat the finesse as many times as they have to. And sometimes they won't be able to repeat the finesse enough times. Another time that you can consider not covering an honor is something like this, where they led the queen of diamonds, and we're hoping to promote the jack 10 if we cover it. But if we duck it, we're going to promote our king anyway. We'll give them 2 diamond tricks, but then afterwards our king grows up because they've had to play those cards themselves anyway. The final one, which is really tricky, is let's just open up the cards and look at just the heart suit. So in this instance, let's say that they lead the jack of hearts. They want 1 heart trick. Imagining this, they only need 1 heart trick. There's 2 ways they can play this. They can either play this south for the queen of hearts or the ace of hearts. They could play the jack of hearts towards the king, hoping that we've got the ace, or they could play the jack of hearts and let it run, hoping that we've got the queen. So in this case, if we duck it, they have to guess whether to play low, playing us for the queen, or they have to guess to put the king on it, playing us for the ace. And it's a 50-50 guess for them, but if we instead just covered an honor with an honor, we've removed that guess. So sometimes covering the honor with an honor can remove a guess for them, and this is a really important idea as declarer of what you can do. By leading honor cards like that, sometimes you can reduce your guesses because people tend to lean towards covering the honor with an honor. Alright. So that's when it doesn't work. I want to look at a few other different situations. I want to talk about leading towards honors in general just being a good thing. So here, ignoring the bidding, what we want to do in this hand is we've got king, queen, third heart, we've got king of diamonds. All of these things we want to try and lead towards our honors. So let's look at how this works. These are all basically just different types of finesses. So here in hearts, even though we've got the king, queen of hearts together, if we manage to lead towards the hearts twice, we're going to score 2 heart tricks. But if we at any stage lead the king of hearts out, the opponents are entitled to win the ace, and then they'll score the jack and 10 separately. Also, in diamonds, what we can do is we can lead towards our diamond honor. So we can lead towards the king, and when that wins, we know where the ace is, and we could then lead again, but this time just duck it, and we'll force out the ace in lucky situations like this. And then finally, in spades, we want to lead towards our ace queen to make sure we get other tricks. So when in doubt, leading towards honors is a great way to set up extra tricks because we're basically trying to take finesses. If we just have solids connecting cards, such as our ace king of clubs, there's no benefit in leading towards them. The whole idea of leading towards honors is so that there are strange finesse positions that you're not sure of, and you're basically getting one of your opponents to play before you play your touching honor. So if they ever have a chance of beating one of your honors, that's when you actually need to lead towards them. If your opponent never would have any chance of beating it, you don't need to, or if the suit is completely solid, you wouldn't need to actually lead towards it. Next one that I wanted to talk about is 8 ever, 9 never. And this is just talking about a percentage way to play suits. I think. Oh wait, no. So the next one I want to talk about is honors from the short suit first. Got ahead of myself. So again, the opponent's just laid a club, and this is just talking about how to untangle the suits. So in most of these we've got lots of touching cards, and what you want to do is work out how you can run the suit without having to use extra entries, such as should we cash the ace of spades first, or the king, or the queen. And the general guideline is play the honors from the shorter suit first. So here we can lead the king of spades. And notice I'm leading an honor here. They're all touching. Opponents have no chance of beating it. Completely solid. So, and the whole idea here is if you play honors from the shorter side first, when they're completely solid, such as this, then when you do eventually get to the long hand, if the suit divided, you're still there to cash the other winner. Okay, but if I'd taken the ace of spades first, then I'd be in the other hand and not able to take the spade suit. Similarly with diamonds, I would cash it from the north hand. I'd cash it from the north hand first, and with hearts, I'd cash the hearts from the south hand first to make sure that when I've finished cashing my honors in the short suit, I can keep taking them in the long hand. Alright, let's look at 8 ever, 9 never. So here, we'll just, again, ignoring the bidding. Okay, so in spades, how do we want to play spades for the most amount of tricks? And how do we want to play hearts for the most amount of tricks? There's a saying called 8 ever, 9 never, which is talking about 8 cards fits only missing the queen. You're not missing the king and the queen, you're not missing the queen and the jack, you're not just missing the king, you're not just missing the jack, none of that stuff. You are only missing the queen. This is the only time this saying is at all relevant, is when you've got 8 cards missing the queen or 9 cards missing the queen. And it's trying to talk about should you take a finesse. And all it wants you to know is the percentage way to play the odds is that with 8 cards you want to take a finesse, but you can cash a top one first. And with 9 cards you want to play for the queen to drop, so we'd cash the ace king. So here, we'll start with the 8 cards missing the queen, which is in spades, and we want to take a finesse. And with 9 cards missing the queen, we want to play for the queen to drop, not take the finesse. And that's just talking about the odds on how best to play them. Now, what's worth knowing is this is just talking about percentages, and there's lots of different things that can actually sway you from doing this. The saying that 9 cards never finesse and 8 cards always finesse is wrong in the sense that there are lots of things that can sway you. So let's look at some examples. So if West got to start and they got to bid preempt in hearts, then what you could know is this preempts like this will sway the odds. The odds of dropping the queen are very close, and a preemptive bid is a great way to know that taking the finesse is now a better chance. Other things that might happen that the opponent, there's a danger hand. You can't let one opponent on, in which case you might try your best to not let them in a certain suit, whether it's avoiding a finesse or finessing through the safe hand, finessing through the danger hand into the safe hand if it fails, to prevent them getting in. So if there's a hand you don't want on, you can not do this. If there's a preempt, the odds actually sway, and 9 card fits, it's better to take finesses. So there are a couple of different times where it'll happen, but there are much more where, such as you can combine your chances and other things like that, which would allow you to not follow that 8 ever, 9 never. And then finally, there's one thing that isn't mentioned enough, but it's playing the known card. So let's imagine that we lead a club and the opponents lead a spade towards the jack. Okay, and now if they cash the ace of spades, our queen and 10 are exactly the same value. The jack's gone, so the queen and the 10 are equivalent. So what this actually means is we should play the known card. If there are 2 cards that your opponents know, like if there's 2 cards that you hold and one of them's known. You want to play the card that's known to the opponents. So here, because it went spade to the jack, our opponent knows that we have the queen, whereas they don't know we have the 10. Now, how is this at all relevant? So let's look at this spade holding, and let's backtrack to the start. So here, they've led a low spade, we played low, they put in the jack. Okay, and now they cash the ace of spades. If we play low, they know we still have the queen, and they'll play a spade towards the king, and then 9 will be good. If instead we play the known card, now when they lead a spade, they don't know if my partner's got the 10 or we've got the 10, and I've now got a choice. Do they finesse or do they play for it to drop? And by playing the known card, we give them a choice. Whereas if we don't do it, then we make it a lot easier for them. Another example of this might be they play a diamond and choose to finesse. And now we've got king jack, which are equals, and they play the ace. And what we should do is we should throw away the king. Our partner has all the information. Our partner knows exactly what cards we've got because East showed out. Whereas if we throw the king, we're playing the known card when declarer doesn't know what we've actually got. Okay, and from equal cards, you want to play the known card such that they have to guess the layout of the suit. So that was just one last thing that I wanted to cover, which is play the known card. So today we talked about when second hand low is right, when third hand high is right, when to cover an honor with an honor, 8 ever, 9 never, leading towards honors, and honors from the shorter suit first. So we've covered a fair bit, but hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.